Hey, welcome to a practice. We're gonna start standing on the back of the mat in a mountain pose, and we're gonna fix our alignment first, and then use that awareness throughout the rest of the practice. So yeah, if you want to stand on the back of the mat, we'll begin there. So once you find yourself on the back of the mat, in a Tadasana mountain pose, you could either have your feet hip socket distance apart, or you could potentially bring your toes together, keeping your feet right next to each other. This really depends on whether or not your knees are touching, or maybe perhaps it feels better on your hips to keep your feet separated. It all depends on how you're feeling. So when you check in, figure out what you need to do. We're going to bring the awareness to the soles of the feet. So you can close your eyes here. As the feet are fully planted, let's bring the awareness then up to the ankles. Recognize how there's a little bit more weight in the ankles over the feet. Perhaps lift the toes off the mat, just so you can gain awareness of where that weight is being placed. You should be able to lift the toes off and still be balanced. Allow the toes to drop. Now take the awareness from the ankles and lift it up the legs until it meets the knees. Now what you want to find in your knees is not a hyperextension, so the knees aren't folding backwards. What we want to do is activate the muscles around the knees, so we're not falling into that joint. Because if we bring our weight into that joint muscle, or that joint bone, that's when we begin to wear it out. But we need to find strength within our knees. So it's a long line through the knees. Or if you want to be more cautious, you could even keep those knees slightly bent just to see how it feels, working them towards a straighter line. Now let's bring our awareness up towards the hips. Now we want to find here is the hips are slightly tilted forward and up as the lower back is then tilted down. Notice how that changed your upper body. So let's tilt the hips, the front hips down, tilt the lower back up. Notice how that changes the lower spine. So if you do that throughout the entire practice, the lower spine can be a little bit more squished. And that's not what we want to do. So what we're going to try to find is the hips begin to rotate up. The back of the hips are rotated down. Notice how there's a longer line now through the spine. So bring your awareness from your hips and bring it up to your rib cage. So now let's check in with the rib cage. What we don't want is the rib cage folding out. Because if you drop the rib cage, bring it up and fold it out, notice how the upper body begins to bend awkwardly. What you want to do is create a natural line. So let's fold the rib cage in and down. It begins to activate your core. Now you can relax your core. You don't need to activate it too much. You want to stay relaxed throughout the practice, but you also want to stay strong. If it's requiring you to use your core, then activate your core. But just don't over tense it, unless that's something you want to do. So now that you have that awareness of the hips, the rib cage, bring your awareness up to the upper back. Broaden the shoulders, allow the shoulder blades to drop down and back, and check in with the spine. Notice how the line of the spine is now found. It should be fairly straight. There will be some natural curves. That is okay depending on who you are. But we are beginning to try to work towards that straight spine. No unnatural curves created. So as the shoulders are broadened, the shoulder blades are down the back. Now let's lift the neck long, potentially just guiding that chin just to lift slightly. It may seem as if it was folded down, beginning to roll the upper back a little bit more forward. What we want to do is lift that chin slightly, lift through the top of the head. The long neck creates an open upper back, but then bring our awareness back down to our core, of the rib cage still tucked in and down. The hips still folding up slightly. Long line through the legs. The knees aren't hyperextending. Maybe slightly bent forward. That's okay. Activating a little bit more of those muscle groups. And the feet are fully planted. Now let's lift our toes. Maintain that long line through the body. And then let's drop our toes. Awesome. So let's now heel toe our feet out. They're going to go towards the edges of the mat. Toes are pointed slightly out. Heels are slightly in. Now maintaining that posture that we just had, so maintaining the upper body, we're now going to bend the knees, drop the hips down. Hips are coming down almost all the way. We're coming into a yogi squat. Elbows reach, meet with the knees. You could keep the heels up if that helps you out, or potentially sit upon a block. Hands are pressed into each other. Knees are pressed out with the elbows. Now let's maintain that awareness of the upper body that we had in the Tadasana mountain pose and bring it now into a yogi squat. The legs are going to be different, but the feet are still planted fully. The upper body is still maintaining that long line through the spine. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Gathering awareness. Now let's press into the feet. Knees are generously bent. We reach up to the sky. Heel toe the feet in. They can meet or be hip socket distance apart. Exhale, palms come down to heart center. Take an inhale here, maintaining that long Tadasana line. Let's now heel the toes back out. Toes are facing the edge of the mat. Heels are slightly in. We drop the hips going back down into a yogi squat, maintaining the upper body alignment. Elbows meet the knees, palms press together, opening up the legs. Maintaining that long spine, not allowing the rib cage to just drop forward and arching that spine awkwardly. Lower back's tucked under and down. It may not actually move much, but that is the awareness and that is the energy that you are creating here in this posture. Pressing into the feet, we're coming back up into a Tadasana mountain pose. Heel toe the feet back together. Reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, palms come down to heart center. Find our foundational pose. Now we're going to maintain this foundational line and work it into the rest of the practice. And as you gather that awareness through this practice, we're going to move very slowly and be very aware. Over time, those small movements will then begin to transition into a faster practice or a more advanced practice. But it's always very important to come back to these foundational moments, these foundational movements. It helps to perfect pose alignment. Now let's reach our hands up to the sky. Big inhale. Shoulders are not coming up to the ears, but they're down. Arms are reaching high. We exhale, fold over our legs. Not hyperextending the knees, a nice long line from the feet all the way up to the hips. Inhale now into a flat back. You can press your hands onto the floor, maybe grabbing onto the sides of the legs, not allowing that rib cage to fall down, but we have a long spine. Let's take another breath here in this flat back. Maintaining that awareness of the core. Let's exhale, fold forward. Bend the knees slightly, press it to the feet. We're coming all the way up, reaching high to the sky. Don't bend awkwardly in the back, keep a long line. And then exhale, palms come down to heart center. Let's reach up one more time to the sky. Exhale, fold forward over the legs, not hyperextending those knees. Long line from the feet to the hips. Inhale into a flat back. Now exhale, we're going to walk the hands out. We're coming into a downward facing dog. Now in the downward facing dog, I want you to be able to explore movement. We had a lot of awareness, a lot of tension, and a lot of thought in our pose. Now here's a moment just to maybe pedal out the knees, slide the hips to the sides. Maybe leaning side to side. Give your body a break, It's good to be very aware and conscious, but at the same time, you got to loosen up. Allow yourself to be mobile, trusting that your body is also capable of showing you when and where it needs to be changed. Now let's come into a downward facing dog that's still. Reaching our hips high to the sky. I want us now to become conscious of our feet fully planted on the mat. Now as we bring that awareness up the legs, we recognize where the knees are in place and how there's a long line. We're not hyperextending those knees. You can bend those knees, that's totally okay. But we want a long line from the feet up to the hips. As the hips reach higher, let's bring our awareness through the upper body. Check in with the spine. Are the ribs dropping down? Well, don't allow that. Tuck the ribs up. It might activate your core a little bit more. It might be a little bit more challenging, but just press into the palms of the hands, reach those hips higher, and find more strength. Broaden those shoulders. Turn the elbows to face down towards the mat. Notice how that shifts the shoulders into place. giving you more space. Let's take 3 breaths here, finding that alignment. Two more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Finding peace and tension. Inhale. And exhale. One more inhale. Exhale, walk the feet to the front of the mat. We're coming into a flat back. Check in with the spine. Check in with the line of the legs. Exhale, fold forward over those legs. Bend the knees slightly, press into the soles of the feet. We're coming up to standing pose. Exhale, palms come down to heart center. Maybe closing the eyes, finding a drishti gaze out in front of us. Let's take 3 conscious breaths here, bringing our intention back. The awareness and the alignment of Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Let's reach the arms out to our sides, T position. Let's twist slightly open to the right side, keeping that long line through the spine. Maybe gazing past that right hand. Make sure that left knee did not hyperextend. Let's come back to center, switching sides. Left hand now reaches back. Stretching long through the spine. It's coming back to center. Reach the hands up overhead. Exhale, fold forward over the legs. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, we're going to bring our feet back to the middle of the mat. Let's now reach back up to the sky. Turn ourselves to face the right side of the mat. Feet are going to come out past hips distance. Prasarita Padottanasana. We find ourselves in a wide-legged stance. Now we're going to come back to that awareness that we had in Tadasana. So check in with the legs. Even though they're spread out now, we're still finding that a long line from the plant of the feet up into the hips. So check in with the knees. Maybe they need to be slightly bent here still. Or maybe they're just falling right into place. A straight long line. What you don't want is allowing them to fold backwards. So now let's bring our awareness back to the hips. And imagine yourself grabbing onto belt loops and begin to lift up your pelvis slightly as the lower back begins to tuck down. Check in with the ribs. Make sure they're tucked in and down. Now a long line through the spine. If you got natural curves, that's okay. But we're still creating that long line up. Broaden the shoulders. Lift through the neck. Chin slightly lifts up. Find that long line. Now let's bring our hands to our hips. And we're going to begin to fold now from that hip crease. Maybe the hips come back slightly as the core stays long and strong. Not bending, not dropping that rib cage. Hands come down onto the mat or potentially blocks. We find that straight back pose. And we breathe. Coming into awareness throughout the body. Do a mental scan. Check in with the soles of the feet. Up the long line of the legs. Awareness is at the hips. Release tension if there's any there. Long line through the spine. Maybe reach the neck out longer. Let's take 2 conscious breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now activating the core, hands come towards the hips. Press through the feet, not hyperextending those knees, but we're going to use the strength of the feet, the long line through the legs, to reach yourself up to a stand. Reach your hands out into a T. Broaden those shoulders. Find your awareness here. We're going to take 3 conscious breaths in this pose, allowing ourselves to mentally scan through the body, checking in with the knees, checking in with the hips, the spine, the rib cage, the neck, and the head. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Hands come down to the hips. Fold forward through those hip creases. Keeping a strong spine. Core is activating, not allowing that belly button to drop. Let's come into that flat back position first. Prasarita, Padottanasana. We're going to begin to fold forward through that wide-legged forward fold. Grow long through the legs, lift the hips higher, press into the soles of the feet. 3 conscious breaths here. Inhale. And exhale, maybe going deeper. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. To come out, we're going to come back into the flat back. Find the awareness of the pose. Activate that core. Hands come to the hips. We press into the feet. Long line through the legs. We're coming all the way up. Now, from here, let's heel toe the feet in slightly. Left toes are going to face the front of the mat. Right toes are going to face towards the right side of the mat. The right hip is further back. We find that alignment through the legs. We're not going to hyperextend that left knee. We want to be consistently conscious of that left leg. Let's grow through the upper body. Hands reach up overhead. Shoulders are not tucking up into the ears, but the shoulder blades are tucked down and back. Let's open up our hands out to the sides. Palms facing down. Make sure that shin of the left leg is pointing up towards the sky. It's not folding inward, but pointing straight forward. Now, we're going to fold from that left hip crease, not hyperextending that left knee. Long line from the hip crease down to the left foot. We're coming into Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Finding that long line through the upper body and through that left leg. Reaching that right hand towards the sky. Placing the left hand either on a block, your ankle, and if you're putting it on your shin, don't put too much weight in that left hand, because then you're creating the problem of hyperextension of that left knee, which is what we don't want. Let's bend that left knee slightly. Lift that left palm up. We're coming into reversed warrior. Awesome. Coming out of that, straighten that left leg. Toes point towards the right side of the mat. We're going to do the triangle pose on the other side now. Right toes point towards the back of the mat. Left toes, 45-degree angle towards the left side. Long line through that right leg. Let's broaden our shoulders. Reach our hands nice and long. Find the awareness of the hips. Right hip is facing towards the front of the mat. Left hip as if it's following, but has its own place right behind that right hip. Now, we bend from that right hip crease, reach that right hand out long, and we fold forward over that right leg. Long spine, reach the left arm up towards the sky, long and strong through that right leg. Triangle pose on the opposite side. Find your balance. Steady the breath. Pressing into the feet, slightly bending that right knee, reversing the palm of the right hand. We come up into a reversed warrior. Just for a moment. And then coming out of that pose. Good job. We are almost done. Let's turn the toes, face the front of the mat. We're going to stand one last time at the top of the mat, finding that Tadasana line. Open the hands out in front of us, allowing the shoulders to drop down and back. Finding that awareness and that alignment through the body. Maybe closing the eyes, being very intentional about this stance. Amazing. Let's bring the palms to the heart center. Let's bend the knees. Hips are going to come down to the ground, sitting all the way down upon the mat. Plant our hands behind us, point those fingertips towards the front of the mat. We're going to do one chest opener, reach the heart towards the sky, broaden the shoulders. Maybe tilt the head slightly back, not dropping it all the way back, because that'll just kink the upper spine. We'll broaden the shoulders and lift through the spine, long line. Let's take another breath there. And exhale, we're going to release that pose. Allow the legs to go out in front of us. We're going to do one more pose before we go into our final rest. So as we lay down onto the back of the spine, we're going to take our hands and put them under our butt. Palms are planted on the mat. Heels are down. Now we're going to lift our upper body up onto our elbows. Allow the shoulders to broaden, and then drop the head down onto the mat. Find ourselves in a fish pose. Deep inhales into the belly, broaden the shoulders. Pressing into the elbows. There should be a gentle curve through the spine. One more inhale. Exhale, release yourself down onto your back. Take the hands out from underneath you. Open the palms to the sky. Take a deep breath in and exhale yourself into our final Shavasana. Allow yourself to drift fully into space. Maybe do a mental scan throughout your body while you're here. Starting with the feet, moving up to the knees, moving that awareness up towards the hips, through the natural curves of the spine, from the abdomen up to the chest. Bring awareness to the shoulders, out through the arms, into the hands, back through the arms, to the shoulders and into the neck, up through into the head. Then allow your awareness to drift away and just be. for a moment in peace. When you're ready, bring awareness back to the body. Any way you like. Maybe that is lifting the upper body slightly. Perhaps curling the toes and the fingers. We then bend our knees, bring our feet closer to the hips, curl over to one side or the other. Then press ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. So we find ourselves in a seat. So now just reflect for a moment on what we just went through. And it may have seemed slightly simple, not very intense. But, however, I was watching this house being made, and it took them about over a month to finish the foundation. And it was less than a week before the rest was being built. And a lot of the times we can neglect the foundation because it doesn't seem like much or doesn't look like much. It might seem small or insignificant. But it is always worth recognizing that small thing. So I want to thank you for showing up today and considering the foundation. Every micro adjustment is changing you and your practice. Do not ever neglect the small thing. I wish you peace, and I wish you much grace. Namaste.